Hey, how you doing? This is my synopsis, or basically my takeaway from spiritual formations class. Um, Truthfully, this semester's been kind of tough for me. It's been difficult to really be able to attend and be able to just really lock into everything that this class had to offer. I loved the content. I loved it when I was able to be in the class. Um, and a lot of the content, a lot of the stuff we had to read really spoke to me. So um, I wouldn't say it was definitely not a waste of time. It was definitely a blessing to me. It just seemed like life was always lifing while I was while I was trying to get into class and trying to do all my stuff. I struggled through, was able to get everything done, but it has definitely been challenging, and it's been definitely one curveball after another. But here we are. I got my book. I can't really have it up here, but start with week one. Key takeaways. The passage from Galatians. God can use anyone in spite of our past. That is huge to me. That is like, I don't know. It just the story and how God called Paul and used him in spite of everything that he did to persecute Christians, everything that he was. God still called and made him be his spokesperson for the Gentiles. It made me feel like if he can use somebody like Paul, he can definitely use me. He can definitely use me in spite of all the things that I did, in spite of all my past mistakes, in spite of all the reasons why I don't think I can do something. Um, it was just really that passage in the Bible just really speaks to me because it's basically my story. Um, 2 Corinthians, God is the source of our strength. That in itself is a mouthful. That in and of itself is everything to me. I've had some dark times, and it wasn't until I started leaning on God that I realized that He is sufficient. He is the source. He is enough to fill that hole that I've had on the inside of me my whole life up until I started really chasing after Him. Um, and when things are going good, right? This kind of part stuck out to me. We must not slip into pride when things are going our way. Remember, God is the one still pulling the strings. How easy is it for us as as a man, especially when things are going my way? I just feel like I'm doing this and I'm doing that. When in reality, no, you're not, bro. Because just a few years ago, you were curled up in the fetal position because you didn't know if you wanted to keep living. And that's kind of me being very open. But I feel like vulnerability is important. It's important to be able to reach people who may be going through the same things I am. So I've always been real comfortable with that. And somebody had to be open with me. Someone had to tell me it was going to be okay, and that's really a way that I pay it forward, and that's a way that I show God's love to people, is to just open up with them and let them know there's hope. A takeaway that I had is from that passage is we must be vessels, allowing God to pour into us and us into His people. And I used the example in class, kind of like at the water park, you see the big bucket and it fills up with water, right? And then it dumps all over the people, and then it flips back up again to fill up again. So that's us. We pour and pour and pour into people, and we always have to remember that it's not us pouring, it's God using us to pour, and we need to go back to our source of our strength. We need to be filled up daily by the Lord. Everything we pour out is what He gives us, and we need to remember it's not us pulling the strings. That was kind of long for week one. I'm sorry. Week two, chapter 2 and 3 of COD is basically a step-by-step guide of prayer and fasting. And this was huge for me because I've always prayed, right? And I've thought about fasting and stuff, but I've never really known how to do those things. And this book really just gives us a step-by-step. You do this, 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 and this. It's just a step-by-step guide of how to do it. And I'm kind of excited to implement that into my life, because I feel like it can grow me spiritually in so many ways. It was just impactful in that regard. Week 3, I love this story, the story of Elijah. The story of Elijah and the prophets of Baal. Elijah, basically, he's a straight up boss, bro. To be one man and stand against, I think it's like 950 prophets of Baal and other false gods, right? And he stood against them 10 toes down, like, I know my God is the one. I know my God is more powerful. And I love how our one true God used thunder and lightning. Like, he used the very thing that they claimed that their God was the God of. Our God used that to show them, like, no, I'm the God of thunder. I'm the God of lightning. I am the one. And it also, so after, you know, all that takes place and Elijah and our God is victorious and stuff, Elijah was tired, bro. He was like, wanted to die. Like, I've never been that tired, but I've been worn out to the point of not wanting to get up. Like, this is too much, right? And in those times, I have to remember that even God rested on the 7th day. God forced him to rest. Like, there's some of us who won't rest until you're made to rest. Your body will shut down, right? So it just reminds me of the importance of rest and remembering that even God, the Almighty, the Creator, rested on the 7th day. Week 4, let's see, John 14:16, Acts 1 and 2. The Holy Spirit in our lives is what I got as kind of my header. Before his death, Jesus gives us instructions on how we are to remain in him. He reminds us that he is the only way to the Father, and we must remember where our focus should be. So he tells us, like, I am the way. The only way to the Father is through me. And we must remain focused on him daily, remain focused. And we get off track, right? And when we get off track, we need to remember who our source was, who our source is, and where we need to come back to. Jesus tells us the challenge we will face. Jesus even told us the challenges that we're going to face just by being his followers. There's no reason why we should be surprised when things happen, when bad things happen, because he tells us it's going to happen. But take heart, because he's overcome the world. He's told us in his word, you know, through him all things are possible. He is the source, and he is the source of our strength. And then to talk about the Holy Spirit. He left us with that gift, right? And it is so important. It's our connection. It's our lifeline to him. It's our way to get to him. And to be honest with you, I'm just appreciative for the Holy Spirit for giving us the nudges when we get off track, for pushing us back in this direction or that direction. And when I've been completely broken, he is interceding on my behalf. He is interceding with the Father. He is interceding, say, you know your son. You know who he is deep down. He's off track. He's broken. But this is who, you know who he is. Remind him who he is. And in those moments when I get reminded, it's just, it's a blessing. It's a blessing that I'm able to know that he's fighting on my behalf. Reminding me who I am and who I'm designed to be. And the biggest part of it is we don't deserve any of it. We are sinners. We should be condemned from birth, but he loves us more than that. He loves us anyways. And in having the Holy Spirit in my life and just being able to really rely on him and focus on him, I'm learning how to be a light to other people, learning how to be a light in spite of what's happening around me, and just allowing the Holy Spirit to help me to speak into people and allowing it to guide my life. I've never felt more free. All right, week 5, Psalm 73. I'll try and speed up. I'm running out of time. This is literally the story of my life. Early adulthood, I spent my time looking at what everybody else had and what everybody else was doing, and a lot of it was sinful. And it looked fun. It looked like, you know, they had all the things. They had all the things that I wanted, and I slipped into it. I started chasing after it. I started doing the things they were doing. I started doing everything that I knew in my heart was wrong, but I wanted what they had. I envied it, and it was basically a fast road to destruction. What I thought would bring me happiness left me depressed, left me empty, left me drained in just about every aspect. There was days where I didn't even know if I wanted to get up. Like I couldn't. It was all I could do to get out of bed, right? But again, but God. It wasn't until I started looking up and looking around that I realized that the hole in my heart was God-sized. There was nothing on this planet that could fill that. And we are so blessed that we serve a God of grace and a God of love and a God of redemption, who can turn even people like me around and to give them hope, to give them peace. And who are we to even deserve that? You know, that's a key point that I got written down here. I know today that nothing on earth will come close to giving my life to Christ. And nothing on earth comes close to giving my life meaning like following Jesus does. And I finally feel like my life has purpose. Week 6, John 9. Dude, I can go on about this. This is pretty powerful stuff to me. It's about how Jesus heals the blind man, right? But that's just the surface level when you dig into it a little bit. Back in those times, you know, people would see people begging on the side of the street. They'd be laying down, you know, and they would spit on the ground as they walked by, just as a form of disrespect. And this one day, Jesus comes walking by this blind man, and you know, he spits on the ground, and the man must have thought that here's just another person disrespecting me. Here's another person telling me I'm not worthy, telling me I'm not good enough. But what Jesus does is he takes that saliva, makes the dirt, makes the mud, rubs it on his eyes, and now he can see. How powerful is that God can take what has brought us so much pain and affliction and turning it into the very thing that opens our eyes up to see. That's super, super powerful stuff. Jesus turns our afflictions into our testimony. That's one of my key points. Some afflictions came about just to show God's glory. It tells us about that in John, in verse 3, I think. So some things we can't explain, but God uses those things to show his glory. We have the privilege of expressing how he has pulled us through in our lives. We get to use our testimony to offer hope to people in desperate need of it. There's some broken people out there, and if I can use my testimony to save one, I feel like it was all worth it. All the pain, all the sadness, all the stuff I had to endure was all worth it, just knowing I was able to save somebody, to help them, bring them to Christ, help give them hope, give them a reason to live. It was all worth it in the end. All right, week 7, chapter 12 challenged me directly because I don't like asking for help. Matter of fact, yesterday I was fixing my garage door, trying to fix my garage door, and ended up breaking it in the process because I didn't want to wait. And what makes it even more embarrassing is my best friend works on garage doors. That's what he does for a living. I could have literally called him and said, hey, can you come help me? And he would have dropped everything and came and helped me. But me being the stubborn person that I am, feeling like I can fix everything, ended up breaking it to the point where it's closed but it won't open. And I now had to call him and tell him, hey, I broke my door. Can you come help me fix it? So what could have been a 10-15 minute ordeal is probably going to take hours now because I didn't want to wait. Wisdom, godly wisdom would have been, hey, why don't you stop and be patient and wait a second and use your resources that God's given you. And we're back. Godly wisdom would have been for me to wait for him to come and help me, and it would have saved me a ton of money. But, you know, it's a lesson learned the hard way. Let's see, wisdom, yeah. I do see the importance of seeking for help because we don't know everything. I don't know everything, as hard as it is for me to admit. We're not designed to do this life alone. We're designed to do it with people around us that God's put in our lives. God calls us to seek guidance and use godly wisdom and sorry, my writing's bad, and turn to his word for guidance. So he calls us to seek for wisdom and then to turn to his word for guidance. All right, let's see. Chapter 13 is joy. Kind of like what I touched on earlier. There was a time in my life where it was everything I could do just to get out of bed. It was challenging. There were some dark times. But then I started looking for him, and he revealed himself. And seeking him daily has taught me self-worth. My life has meaning and purpose. In time, the feeling of joy started creeping up in my life slowly but surely, gradually, kind of like the Grinch whose heart grew 3 times and grew three times its size. Today, I can say that the joy of the Lord is my strength, and that's it. Thank you.